Welcome everyone to the workshop on the role of support service providers in inclusive education. So I suggest that we start slowly this workshop, waiting for some new participants to join us. So in the meantime, I would like to give you some technical details regarding this workshop. For your information, we have captioning, so you can activate the closed caption button at the bottom of your screen, and then you just need to click on show subtitle. If you have any questions or comments, we would ask you to share them in the chat box. And if you have any, otherwise you can also raise your hand if you wish to speak, and we will give you the floor. And we would also kindly ask you to remain muted during the session so that we don't have too much background noise. So thank you. Welcome again to this workshop. We hope you enjoyed the morning session, the morning panel, which was quite interesting. So in this workshop, we will talk about the recent study of the Beyond project, which was a study on the role of service providers in the transition towards inclusive education. So the aim of this workshop is to explore the role of the support service provider in facilitating the inclusion of learners with disabilities in school. So in that regard, we have two speakers who joined us today, who are actually two partners of the Beyond project. We have Els Tessen from UCLL and Annemie Jennes from Catholic Education Flanders. So without further ado, ladies, I give you the floor.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Els Tessen, and I'm a researcher at UCLL in the Expertise Center Inclusive Society. We're going to make it an interactive workshop, and we're going to use Nearpod. So please, if you can go to the chat, I put there a link. You can click on that link, and then it will open in your browser. Then you can type in your name. And then you can click on Join Lesson. So I will repeat for the people that are just joining. I put a link in the chat, and you can click on that link, and then it will appear in your browser. Then you can type in your name, and then you can click on Join Lesson, and then we can have an interactive workshop, and that makes it more interesting, I think. I can already see the names Amanda, Anne, Annemie, Doreen, Irene, Marcel, Marina, Miguel, Paula, another one also called Paula, Priska, and Zoe. I'm waiting for 4 people, or no, six people. I think 2 people are just joining. I will tell it again because it's important that everybody is there in the beginning. So good afternoon, everybody. I just put a link in the chat. You can click on it, and then it will appear in your browser. If you open it, then you can type in your name, and then you can click on Join Lesson.
Does everybody succeed? If you have a question, please speak up. It's the blue button, Join Lesson. Okay, a thumb up from Miguel. That's nice.
Thank you, Miguel. So there are already 15 people. I'm waiting on 4 people more. So I will explain it one more time.
Do you want me to since there are some Portuguese?
Yeah, that would be nice, Miguel. Yeah,
thank you.
Please.
Bom dia, Paula e Teresa. Conseguiram entrar na lição? Ou seja, tem a ligação em baixo no bate-papo?
Eu já estou.
Ótimo, ótimo.
Eu também já estou.
Ok, só colocar o nome e Join Lesson.
Obrigado.
Okay. Obrigado. I think that's it, Elsa.
Okay, perfect. Then we will start.
Okay, welcome everybody to this workshop. I'm also very glad that we have some projects partners here in our virtual classroom. That's very nice. Els and me, we would like to present you the results of one part of the project, and it's a part of the role of support service providers in inclusive education. So please, Els, go on.
You're muted, Els.
Yeah. Put your mic on.
I will just leave it on. Okay, now you can see info about the participants. We asked you to complete the questionnaire. If you didn't do it, it's not a big deal. But the questionnaire is an adapted version of the one we use in the project to inclusive education and beyond. We now provide information on the participants of this workshop, and we can see the different countries. Portugal is represented, Belgium, Greece, Malta, the Netherlands, and also other people. If we forget a country, please, you can type it in the chat now, that we know which country is present today. Then of the 9 people that answered the survey, 3 people are working in school, but 6 people aren't. The next question we asked were your years in practice in support service sector. So you can see here the results. So there are 3 people that are more than 21 years practice in support service sector. So it's very nice. And then the professional education, we have a teacher, we have a specialized teacher, psychologist, occupational therapist, operational director, manager, lecturer, and others. If there is also another profession that you are practicing now, you can also put it in the chat. So we have a clear image of the people that are participating in this workshop. Then, as I said, it will be an interactive course. So we're going to give an interactive workshop as well. So my first question to you is, what do you think a service provider is, and what is a service provider according to you? You can see something where you get some place where you can type, and there is share thoughts and or images here. So your thoughts are enough. You can type your answer there, and then you can just click on posts. So I will give you some time to answer the question.
We have already 2 answers. So please feel free to type an answer in the post box. It's not about points. We will not rate you. It's just to give a thought on what's your opinion about a service provider in inclusive education. I can read a service from outside the school that supports schools, a person supporting a person with needs, a support service to social needs, someone that provides extra services to a child with special needs, another one also independent service that do not serve the interests of the school, but rather the interests of students and parents. Another one, a service provider, is one that supports a person with disability from school to employability. That's a specific focus that we read here. Very interesting. A service provider is a person who helps the school teachers, environment, and other children to make sure that the person with a disability can have a place in school and learn together with other kids. Okay, thanks a lot for these interesting answers. Another one, an entity supporting children and families and can connect them with school and teachers. The answers are popping up, enabling teachers to enable students to access, participate, and benefit from education. We see very different elements in these opinions about what a service provider might be in a context of inclusive education. Let's move to the definition we have made with the project's partners. So of course, if you run a European project, it is a Key Action 2 project with partners from 5 different countries. We all have different thoughts about what is inclusive education. If you have followed the panel this morning, we also hear different opinions about what is inclusive education and so on. So it was very important with the project partner to make a common definition. What do we understand by a service provider? So the definition that you read here is not the definition of a service provider. It's a definition we have created with the project partners. So what do we say? A service provider serves a long or short time. It can be different in the period that somebody gives support. Second element, a service provider empowers pupils with support needs or their families to participate fully and successfully in the life of the local community and in the education environment. If I've read the different definitions you have made, we recognize different elements in this second element, the persons, the families, but also very interesting is here the local community and the education environment. Third element, a service provider provides outside the school and it's not under the direction of the schools. I remember, and I can look to Priska and Miguel also, that we have some discussions about it. Can a service provider be a member of the school team or not? And this has a lot to do with the role a service provider can take on. And we will go further on that topic during this workshop. And the last element, a service provider supports the transition of pupils with special educational needs into mainstream schools. An element that is not written here, but that we have read is to employability. But this was not the focus of our project, but we might add that to this last element of the definition. So let's move on with the next slide. Okay, thank you very much. One of the assignments of the project was to produce some fact sheets about the support model. How is a support model in the different countries? So here you see the 5 partner countries, Belgium, the northern part, Flanders, Portugal, Austria, France, and Finland. We can send you the report about this research topic. You can read it because it would take us too long to go into detail about the different support models in these 5 countries. We will just focus very briefly on similarities and differences between these countries. Okay, Els, thank you. In the report, we covered different topics. Per partner country, we explained the organization of the support model, and I will focus a little bit on a description every country has made about the transition from special education system towards more inclusive education or inclusive education, fully inclusion as in Portugal. We have described the job of a service provider. We have described the experiences with the support model, and these fact sheets, they are based on the information you can find on the website of the European Agency for Special Needs and Inclusive Education. I don't know if you are familiar with this organization, but it's a really interesting website. You can discover all kinds of information per partner country, but also very interesting reports about inclusive education, about the funding and so on. Of course, the information you find on this website It's merely the point of view of the government. So we have also put in some information from the project partners in our report. Okay, next one, please. Thank you. It all began, the development of inclusive education in these 5 partner countries. It's a long history. We are not already there. In these 5 countries, we don't all have a fully inclusive education system, but we can say some similarities. It all began with special education and special schools, some more than 100 years ago. Then the next phase in these countries was integration, where children with special needs were taught as much as possible in mainstream schools by a teacher of special education. Then the next phase is the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. All countries ratified this UN Convention, and it means that they need to put this also in legislation, that they have to make legislation that facilitates the implementation of inclusive education. Why this is so so important? Because all children with special needs got the right to enroll in a mainstream school. That's a very important article of the UN Convention. It's Article 24. Also very important is that all schools must become accessible, for instance, for wheelchairs, also for the blind and the deaf. Discrimination based on disability is prohibited, and we all have the a dream to create a school for all, where all children with all kinds of disability, but all kinds of diversity are welcome. Of course, between the 5 partner countries, we also see a lot of differences. We see that still a lot of special schools are left, except in Portugal. Miguel, I hope that I'm right. Not so many special schools anymore in Portugal. Some of them, I heard it also this morning.
Yes, we have about 1.2% of all students with disabilities in special schools. So in the whole territory, we are talking about 10 schools, and some of the schools have 5 children, 6 children, and then we have one larger one that is in the center of Portugal that is focused on children with high support health needs. So this is almost like a care unit. So children in risk of their own life. So
I can tell that in Belgium, we have about 5% of the children in special schools, and due to COVID, it's increasing. Priska, in Austria, you have these integration classes I've mentioned. In France, there is also this CLIS, special classes in mainstream schools, 4 types, and they also have local units for educational inclusion, also different types. And in Finland, they also have special classes in regular schools. Next one. We see that in some countries, there is a continuum of care, we call it. It means that the care system runs through different phases. I've put an image from Belgium and Finland. Also in France, they have a care system or a continuum of care. Next one, please. Then in all countries, we see that the support teams are multidisciplinary. We see a team of different professionals, and if you read to the chat, we also see very different professionals here on the screen. It's the same in the teams that make the support services. Support is offered by different support services among the countries. For instance, in Belgium, we have support networks, we have special schools with certain types of disability. In Portugal, we have these special schools that were turned into resource centers. There is also a lot of early child care. And we have many, in Austria, we see many different professional groups providing assistance. They have teaching assistants and learning support systems and very diverse job descriptions, as you have mentioned, Priska. Okay, we see also different tasks among the countries. So it's a range of tasks and disciplines offering support in inclusive education. Okay, next one, please. Yeah, else? You may move on. Okay, that's a very short question. What are your thoughts about these fact sheets? Do you see some similarities with your own country or practice? Do you see some differences? But just a very short, quick answer in the box, please. Thanks. I don't see any answers pop up yet, or
Not yet.
not
I think
yet?
people are thinking.
Yeah. Special classes are not allowed in Portugal. You mean, Miguel, no special classes in mainstream schools? They may not be grouped.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear because we see it in other countries more and more.
The last,
Still many
yeah.
students in special schools, yeah. And in France, there is a change. ULIS has replaced the term of CLIS. Okay. So we see some progression in France. Okay, thank you to share these thoughts, and maybe else it's time now to move to the different roles of a service provider.
Yes. In this graph, you can see the different roles of the Ipra model. And the Ipra model is the interdisciplinary inclusive practice design that can be considered in an inclusive environment. And depending on the workplace where the service provider ends up, the emphasis will be also on certain roles. So the following information on the different roles can provide just inspiration on what tasks the service provider can perform. So it is not intended that all roles are equally applicable, but rather that the possibilities of addressing these different roles are explored. So we have questioned these 8 roles also in the questionnaire. And I have a first question for you. So have another look at the 8 roles. And then I have a question. Which is the most important role a service provider should take on? So without getting the meaning on the roles and only knowing the names of the roles, which is the most important role a service provider should take on according to you? So now you can click on an answer.
Vote.
Please vote. It's very important that we know what your thoughts are about that. So you can click on an answer, and then you can click on submit, and then you have to wait because I can see the results, but you cannot see them. So you just have to wait, and then we can show it.
Where does your heart go to?
I see a lot of bullets are coming. I will just show my screen for one moment, and then you can see the answers. So we see a lot of people put the bullet A, the voice of the child. One person B, one person C. A lot of F, and F is connector. I think connector is also kind of important. And H, a lot of people also have the reflective practitioner. Voilà. Okay. So now we're going to explain the roles briefly. And the first one is the voice of the child, and everybody or a lot of people of you said it is the most important role. So the service provider got to ask himself, what does a child or young person need? What is the pupil entitled to? And how do they, jointly, so with the teachers or with the staff, ensure that the pupils' needs for support are met. Second one.
Okay, the next one is about the assistant of the child. It starts from what are the needs of the child. So the role of the support service is to really know the needs of the child and then offer practical support, but in a shared responsibility. So you will see that all different accents and the different roles, but here the assistant of the child is start from the needs of the child and offer in a shared responsibility the practical support, also the social emotional well-being of the child is put a lot in focus if you take on the role of assistant of the child.
Then the third one is team teacher. So yeah, the service provider is an equivalent teacher, so they can co-teach in the class. And a strength here is that these roles of final responsibility and supporter can also change. So the final responsibility can change, and they are in close cooperation to support the whole class or the child that has special needs.
Okay, the next one, classroom assistant. This is different from assistant of the child. This is about a classroom assistant. It's very different, very practical. Set up the computer or help with some technical support.
The fifth one is the Widescreen Partner. So it's being the inspirator for the teacher. And so in this role, reciprocity and learning from each other, being an inspirer of each other is very important. But it's also certainly important to not take over the role from the teacher, but to recognize and acknowledge each other's strengths and talents. So really working together and respect each other and being there for the child, but together.
The next one is a connector. I really like this one. It's a bridge builder between the school, the child, and the family of the child. It's about communication and also try to identify and mediate conflicts. Okay, next one.
The seventh one is being a member of the school team. So this is about participation within the school activities, but also within a multidisciplinary consultation. As I also heard yesterday in a workshop, the multidisciplinarity of the staff team or of the team is very important to help all the children in helping them with their special needs.
And the last one is a reflective practitioner. This is a role that is always present, and it's also a role that is interwoven in all the other roles, because this is about being a critical practitioner, about taking a critical look how to your support work and how you act and what actions you do in classroom and so on. So this was the overview.
Okay, and now very interesting part. So in the questionnaire, we asked how service providers operate. So in the different countries, we explained in the beginning of our workshop. And specifically, we wanted to find out what roles the service providers fulfill in the different countries. So we send out a questionnaire, we analyze the questionnaire, and then we put it in a report that also Annemie also said that you can read if you want to. And we asked them to give a score from 1 to 5 on the 8 roles of the Ipra model. And for each statement, the participants could select an answer between 1, so that's totally disagree, and 5, totally agree. And I also asked, you also, the participant of the workshop, to fulfill also the survey. And I have here the results. So let us now look at your results on the different roles in comparison with the participants of the project. And I highlighted the lower scores. So you can see on in the table the different roles, so the 8 roles that we just explained. And then you can see the averages of the different countries, so Portugal, France, Austria, Finland, and Belgium. And then I analyzed, or I calculated the average of the people that filled in the workshop. So yeah, there are some interesting results, I think. The yellow ones I colored, they are lower scores. And if you see the team teacher is something that it's not that common in a lot of countries, I think. The co-teaching is still going, is still in practice, is still evaluating or evolving. So we're not there yet. The classroom assistant, we also said that it's not that common in a lot of countries. So that's also maybe why it's more yellow. And then the member of the school team, yeah, it's most of all, it's a service provider that is outside the school maybe, and it's coming to help the child, but then maybe he's going to another school. So being a member of the school team, it is not that common to be. And then you can see the average of the workshop. I think the scores are pretty good, but it's only 9 people that filled in it. So maybe it's not that significantly to say so. So then we have a question for you. Yeah, what is your opinion on these roles? Are you surprised by the results? Or is there a particular role you take on more or less? Or are there any other roles that we have to include or that you consider important?
So please put an answer or a thought in the box. The role of connector is very important in my opinion. It ensures the continuity of the network. Some service providers see themselves as therapeutic. That is maybe an interesting one to explain. I don't know if you want to explain this one.
Miguel?
Yeah, sorry, I was typing and wrongly I put enter. I wanted to explain more. I'm so sorry. Yeah, some service providers see themselves as only providing therapeutic support to the child, and that's it. And so they do not feel compelled to share their information, to even share with schools and even with parents. They have this clinical clinical way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Miguel.
Maybe there's a role as innovator, ways of supporting children develop in a continuous way. Innovator. Somebody want to share this? Have a thought on this?
Marcel, can you explain yourself? Or
Yes,
do you
no
want to
problem,
explain yourself? Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. Well, it was a thought of mine. When I look at the children with all those types and all the different disabilities, there are new technological solutions. There are new scientific solutions from a pedagogical way or teaching way. I think it's very important to be aware of that and to bring it in the classroom, where that type of knowledge maybe isn't there at the moment.
Thank you. So it's more about assistive technology also and technology. Yeah.
Yeah, I represent in the Netherlands a umbrella organization for people with disabilities, and
yes.
One important thing is that people with disabilities is confronted with a lot of different issues at the same time. So it's very difficult to bring it all together, and I think it's important when someone helps you with that, and when they do that, that they bring on the latest results of.
Yeah. It's a little bit part of assistant of the classroom, because assistant of the classroom is about supporting also technical devices, and it's especially for certain types of disability, it's really important to also have a good assistive technology. I completely agree, and they can take an innovative role on that. nice to add. Thank you. The role of connector makes that it will be long-lasting even after the service provider stops his or her help. It's like building a network around the child. And this is also a very important issue in this conference about co-production and networking. So it's really nice one, connector. I like the word bridge builder also, making a network. Be the voice of the child could be even danger. It is important to be aware of it. Would someone like to explain this? What are the risks of being the voice of the child?
Hi, good morning.
Fabrizio,
That's
hi.
Fabrizio from Rome. Hello.
Nice to meet you here.
And hello, everybody. I was able to arrive at the beginning, but then I have to leave because I have some problems here in the center. We are making vaccination to all the users.
Good,
So
good.
it's a very busy day. Yeah, what I want to mean, of course, it's I wouldn't put it in a negative way, but as we are people, we have human being. We have to be sure when we want to talk on behalf of somebody, and for instance, children, we have to take care of the way we have to express ourselves. It's not something that we have to think about us. We are doing it on behalf of. And I see this when I have here in the center, I have, well, they are youngsters, but we are always in confronting with the families as well, because otherwise we believe to be a bit, how can I say, at a higher level, and it's not that. We have to work together with our clients, with our users, and we have to take care in which way we do it. We are not there. We have another kind of responsibility.
Yeah, not speak instead of them.
We have to remember that we are not gods,
okay,
or something like, and it can be, and it can happen at any age. So that's why I said we have to always take care that we are doing something for another person and not for ourselves, not for our satisfaction. That can be anyhow in the work we are doing, because we do like it. Otherwise, maybe we would have gone working behind in a bank or in another way. So for us, human being, it's fundamental, but never forget that.
Thank you very much for this nice comment. The next one thing, there should be a combination agreement between the stakeholder, child and parent. It's also about the network that we are and the connecting and to make a strong network for inclusive education. Service providers must make a better school for all by having moments of include everyone in provide support. So not only specific for the child with special needs, but include all learners. It's also something we pay attention to in the support networks in Belgium, that we involve all the children and especially also the teacher that works with the children. Empowerment of school professionals through a process of mentoring so that the school can eventually be able to sustain internally the strategies and approaches needed to be best enable the child to learn without the need for continuous support. It's about empowerment. It's also about getting stronger by support, but not become dependent completely of support. It's a really important one. Thank you for that. So let's move on to the next one, Else.
Yeah. So now we have some questions for you. We have four times a poll, so you can just click and answer which one is your answer on the question. So the first one is, what role do you personally still need to work on? So which role did you not apply yet? I will share my screen so you can also see the results.
I hope this does not influence those who are already.
I can also not share it anymore.
No, it's okay.
This is a reflection of the results of the project, because we see that team teacher, it's about co-teaching, this is a role that is not taken up so far. So I also have to click team teacher, because I know in Belgium this is a role it's difficult to take, the co-teaching, because also you have to, the teacher of the classroom needs to be ready for that and willing to act as a co-teacher. But it's a very interesting one if you can do so.
I think it's also difficult. Yeah, say you can say, Miguel.
Yeah, and it needs a lot of preparation.
Yeah,
so you cannot arrive in a
preparation
classroom.
And evaluation also. It takes a lot of time if you want to do it in a good way.
Yeah, what role can I as a secondary teacher, and so that none of us feel uncomfortable by moving in each other's domain or area. It's a very, very sensitive area.
Yeah, I agree.
Financial aspect, I think it's also very difficult. There is not enough money to put 2 teachers in front of a classroom, or the hours are not there. It's also a problem in a lot of schools. So we will have a last check. So yeah, the team teacher is something that a lot of people clicked on. The member of the school team, and it's also a representative, or that's also something that we found in the Beyond project. So these are the 2 ones that are mostly still need to work on. I will continue to the next question.
Nice.
This is an evaluation question. So we have explained, or I think we have explained the roles in a good way, and I hope in a clear way. So this is the first evaluation question. Which role does not exist in all countries? So it's kind of a checkup if our explanation was clear. The opinions are divided.
So else tell the right answer.
Yeah, the answer that we had in mind was the classroom assistant, because in some countries this function does not exist in a separate model. So, for example, the position of a classroom assistant does not yet exist in Flanders, and it's also usually not a teacher, but probably a lot of other roles are also not present in other countries. I think every country is different, so that makes it also even more interesting. So thank you a lot for your answers. I will go to the second evaluation question. And that is, which role is interwoven in the other roles? That's a more easy one, I think.
Wow.
Very good classroom.
So yes, indeed, the answer that we had in mind was a reflective practitioner, because reflection allows the service provider to take some distance from the actual practice and to look for opportunities outside the walls of the classroom and the school. So that's why the reflective practitioner is interwoven in the other roles. And then the last evaluation question. So if you have 2 on 3, very good. Maybe you can have 3 on 3. And that is, in which role does communication with different actors play a major role? I think indeed that role we said a lot of things about it during this workshop, and it's indeed the bridge builder between the school, the pupil, and the home, and the family, and the local community. So we were also thinking about the connector. The bridge builder is also a nice name for it. But of course, communication is important everywhere, but in the connector role, I think it's the most important. So thank you very much for your attention and your cooperation. Do you
have any questions for us, or maybe else? Maybe you can stop. Okay, we can see each other. Any questions for us? Some thoughts you want to share, or some experience you want to share? Please, we have a few minutes left.
I'm just waiting for the results of the of my
grade.
grade.
Who has 3 to 3? Yes, of course. I don't know else if you have this. If you can show it. Just Miguel.
I can check
what was the result of Miguel? That's what you want to know.
Okay, Miguel. First one was.
Okay. So yeah.
There a slide that you want to see again, maybe, or
maybe the one with all the different roles in the picture.
I'm going there. Voila.
This one. Do you like this image? Do you feel connected with all these different roles, or do you think it's interesting to talk about these different roles? I think it gives a clear view on the different sides of being a support worker or being a service provider in inclusive education. And we see a lot of differences between the countries, but probably there are also a lot of differences between service provider. As Miguel said before, there are some providers that only give therapeutic support. So I suppose that they don't meet a lot of these different roles. And if you want to evolve to a full inclusive education system, that it is important to have all these, to be able to meet all these different roles, not in one person, but certainly as a service, that we can offer we can meet all these different needs.
If I may, that's
yes, of course.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but I am also thinking that sometimes our service depends also on the background, the cultural background of the country as it is.
Yeah.
It's not always the same. It cannot be. So it depends on that. And it depends also on the, even on the legislations that in different countries we may find.
It's true.
Because in Italy, for instance, you cannot do something if you don't have a law behind it. Mm-hmm. That's, of course, in general. So before you have to be sure that you have that law that allows you for instance, to speak on behalf of, or whatever you can do as service providers in school or in a center, a rehabilitation center as mine. And of course, as I said before, it depends also in our culture, in the way we are used to, the way we are, how do you say, we have been trained. And also if, and this is a lack still here in Italy, how is trained the supporting teachers, for instance, in schools. There is a lack still in professional under that point of view. As I said also yesterday in my workshop, sometimes teachers want to be a supporting teacher, as we call it, just because they are not enrolled in the regular national list of the teachers. So it's just a way of working, but they're not well trained to do that. So sometimes they can make big mistakes, because 1 year they can be supporting teacher of a person with dyslexia, then another year with another kind of disability or another kind of problem. It can change. You're not specialized under that point of view, and I can agree in a way, because to specialized persons with their disabilities is something quite, it's a way of discussing in a quite fragile, because you never know. I don't like to make target under that point of view, but of course you have to be trained. You have to know what you're going to do and in which way you have to work. Maybe it's not at the highest level, because sometimes again you think to be a teacher at the low level, particularly when they work together in the same classroom, the teacher, official teacher, and the teacher supporting teacher. They may have problems one against the other. So you have to take, that's why I always say we have to be aware of, but we have to move very carefully, particularly because we are working with children.
I totally agree. Thanks you, Fabrizio, for sharing your thoughts on this. Okay, somebody else wants to share a thought or a comment? Otherwise, it's time, Zoe, to wrap up and to close, I suppose.
Yeah, Miguel raised his hand, so Miguel.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, please, Miguel.
Yeah, I just have just a few minutes. So I think one of the main roles that I feel that are the most important, and it's what I see when inclusive education fails, is when a teacher or someone in the school feels like they were being punished sometimes, or they feel completely alone with a task they are not prepared to make. So having that person put in the spotlight like that, like, okay, you have a kid here, he has cerebral palsy, good luck. This is the most important barrier that sometimes we have to deal with. So being a connector and being inside the school, you can see, because this happens, someone that feels like it's not my turn, or couldn't you provide this help, getting some help from anyone else? Who can I reach? And there is no answer. Who can I reach to help me? So our attention should be focused on these situations, on how people feel completely alone and without any tools to because they really want to help. But when people are put in the spot like this, their work tends to be made in a protective way. So I have to do things that I can prove that I've done, and this is my obligation. So in a way to protect myself, I have to do this, and this is it. And this is the top that I provide. After this, go after someone else, because I'm contracted to do this. So this imposed limits on people, on persons in school that feel that they're not empowered to really to know how to support, tends to make people more protective of their work. They have to defend themselves from the system that give the child with so severe needs. And for me, this is my current work now, to detect these feelings of injustice that teachers and personal assistants and everyone that works on the school, and say, this is not your problem. This is a community problem. We have a problem here. We have a kid that wants to do this, but the resources are limited. So you shouldn't personalize this problem as I'm being targeted because I've been selected to support this kid. And how can we deconstruct this and, well, turn it into a positive thing and say, okay, we can do amazing things. The law, as Fabrizio said, if I know the law, I know that under the law I can do much more. I can personalize things, I can adapt things, I can try. And someone that is on this mindset will not try to innovate, will not try to.
It's also about empowerment, about attitude, and about the network and the local community. Thank you very much. I think it's time to close, and I would like to give the floor back to Zoe.
Thank you, Annemie. Thank you, everyone, for your fruitful contributions to this session. I think it was very interesting. Thank you, Alison and Annemie, for the great presentation. It was really nice diving into the wide variety of roles that a support service provider is supposed or could have. So I think it was really, really nice. And I really liked the word that you use, Annemie, as for the connector, the bridge builder. I think it makes a lot of sense that we really have to focus on this network and really working with the learner and the stakeholders. I think that's indeed very, very important. And Miguel, you pointed out a very good point that we also have to focus on the empowerment of the service providers. And I think there is also something about working on the role of their competencies and how we recognize their competencies and their abilities. That's also something that is quite important. So thank you everyone for joining our session. I would just like to remind you that we have an evening activity at 7 Brussels time tonight. We'll have a drink, an opportunist tasca. I hope I said it right, Miguel. So we invite you to join us for a drink, a cup of coffee, or maybe a nice glass of porto. Maybe that would be more accurate. And we would like to just share with you a quick video so that I will present you the program that we have tomorrow. So Irene, if you could please share the video. So thank you again for joining us today for our panel this morning and for the workshop we just had. So tomorrow we will have another morning energizer with a welcome session at 9:30. So get ready for this energizer. Then we will have 2 panel sessions, one focusing on lifelong learning and VET for persons with disabilities, and one on supporting the development of the social service workforce through education and training. So from 9:45 to 11. And then from 11:30 to 1, we'll have one final panel session focusing more on policy and the Beyond project. So it will look at developing EU policies on inclusive education. So that's it from our side. And thank you again very much for joining us and looking forward to seeing you tonight for a nice